Hi, and welcome to the OEM Blockers and Breakthroughs podcast, brought to you by Partful. I'm your host, Sam Burgess, and I'm the CEO of Partful. We're here to share the stories from real companies and real people to help OEMs overcome the challenges and be amongst the best forward-thinking teams in the world. And in this episode, we're going to be focusing on the trends and predictions for 2025. Alongside me, we have Rob. Welcome to the podcast, Rob.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. First podcast with Partful. Very excited.
Is this your first one?
It is, yeah. First one.
I did not know that. Well, let's see how we get on today. In that case, then definitely let's start by giving an insight into your background, who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm head of sales here at Partful. So I lead our sales team in the acquisition of new customers in the form of OEMs and essentially users of our after-sales solutions. We typically do this through deep discovery to really understand and diagnose the true pain for OEMs within after-sales and then demonstrate our product capabilities to overcome this. More recently, towards the back end of last year, I've been spearheading the go-to-market for the Partful EPC 2.0 and bringing that into the hands of our early adopters and our beta customers, which we're onboarding at the moment, and then looking to extend that reach moving forward. And this year, I think is going to be a really, really interesting year to kind of continue to get traction with the new product that we're launching, but also to build some strong industry partners to extend our reach and to enhance our product offerings as well. So yeah, it's going to be a really exciting year here at Partful. I'm really enjoying the journey that we're going on, and it's a really exciting time to be a part of this company.
Amazing, brilliant. For you then, what's been the standout sort of moments for the past 12 months then?
Yeah, really good question. I think going through this journey of updating and rebuilding the product has really opened the lid on the deep insights that we've uncovered to make sure that what we're building is the right product for the market. And as we've gone through that as a team from kind of a multi functional cross-disciplinary perspective with product and tech and sales and everyone else, it's been amazing to see the deep insight that we've gone into around the not only the challenges within after sales, but the specific requirements that individual customers have for building EPCs and how we can navigate the complexity of those. So I think that insight and going into that product development is only helping us to really build a strong product for the market. And it's been challenging at times, but it's worthwhile because there's no point, as you know, Sam, like kind of just touching the surface and building something that's not going to be relevant to the customer base that we're looking to target. So going into the weeds and the depths of the requirements is really important. I think from an industry perspective, it's been really interesting to see the adoption of new technologies towards Industry 4.0. We've had a couple of customers that we've started working with last year who have really started to leverage data and analytics within after sales, particularly around telematics and predictive maintenance and service and repair requirements. And I think that's going to be a really interesting industry point moving forward, but also for Partful to see how we can leverage that data for our customers and feed that back into the loop.
Amazing.
How about you, Sam? What did you find interesting from last year?
Well, I guess for me, I've been more focused really in the last 12 months on the investment. Obviously, we've just gone through the Series A, which is closed just before Christmas, which is great news. So I guess a lot of my world was really focused around, where investors are looking and what the appetite for investment is with investment. We started the campaign knowing that it was a tough market. We set some clear objectives. We managed to hit those objectives. And I think my experience from previous rounds is that there is appetite to invest. There's definitely money in the hemisphere to be invested. I think the difference now, though, is that you've got to look for those specific investment partners that really understand your niche, your market, your segment. I think before where investors may have been a little bit more open to moving out of their particular verticals within a realm of possibility. I think now investors are sort of like being a little bit more specific, a little bit more cautious, and they really want to understand what it is they're invested in. And that's what we found with us. We found lots of really good feedback. However, all the investors that were really interested were the ones that were very specifically within our areas, whereas previously we appealed to a far broader church. That's probably one of my biggest reflections from the year.
Yeah, because it's an interesting one because unless you're, I suppose, within the manufacturing sector, you might not necessarily understand the pain that we solve and the pain within after sales. And I guess over your time kind of with Partful in general, you probably brought a lot of different people, investors along that journey of kind of understanding what the problem is and what we're trying to achieve. And be interesting to kind of understand your insight of how that's been perceived and how, what the journey they've gone on to understand the solution that we're or the problems that we're trying to solve.
Yeah, that's great. It's a really good question, Rob. I think the thing is with after sales, some organisations don't realise they've got a problem. That's so and you know that because you speak to customers every day, and you can speak to a chief engineer, CEOs, and some of those guys don't realise just how much money they can leverage from their existing ecosystem. They're sort of blissfully unaware of it. So to then go up or outside of that immediacy into an investor world, to find investors that understand that as well is not straightforward. It's not straightforward. So yeah, but they are out there. There's it's such a massive market, and for those specific investors who work in that manufacturing world, they understand the mechanics of the manufacturing world. They understand the areas of profitability, and if you can start to talk around increasing profits by 20-30% in some cases, or make up the entire revenue portfolio of an organization by 30%, that gets people, certainly investors, extremely excited very quickly. And that's what our technology is doing. I mean, this, you're working with some customers at the moment where their returns are looking at significantly more than 30% of their overall revenue. Maybe 40. I don't know, maybe even higher. It's a huge opportunity, and yeah, I think we're in an incredible position. I was saying over Christmas, talking to friends and families and stuff, and we've been exceptionally fortunate in many ways. We've made our own luck in lots of ways, but with the right team behind us now, we're off to what a start to 2025. Really good, really
Yeah,
exciting.
absolutely. Yeah, we had a good opportunity, well, a couple of good opportunities at the back end of last year to really talk about our solutions and the benefits that they bring and that time and revenue or time saving and revenue increase in the webinars that we did with Copperberg and the engineer, didn't we? So that was a good opportunity to kind of amplify the reach of what we're doing to a wider audience. So how do you see webinars like the ones that we did back end of last year shaping industry dialogue around digital innovation moving forward?
That's a great question. I think the onset of webinars and even this podcast have been one of the real benefits post COVID. I think as people have gone online to have these conversations, and just in podcasts in general, the upsurge that we've seen in podcasts to inform people has been significant, and industry specific ones are no different. And I see what I see with the webinars. Taking the Copperberg one that we did last year, there was a significant level of engagement, a significant level of high profile decision makers attending these webinars now. And what that's doing, that's democratizing the information and the challenges and the problems that everyone's facing to allow the individuals and the organizations to make their own assumptions and their own decisions based on this accumulation of knowledge that's benefit from the likes of the webinars and podcasts like these. And I think that's been a massive boost for the industry. Is it allows people to understand, have an open communication, open conversation, and allows people to really understand what's going on in the world. I see it as a real benefit and a real positive.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think one of the things I'm also looking forward to, kind of aside from the webinars, are the in-person events that we've got coming up next year. Because
Yeah.
what I noticed, kind of having gone to quite a few this year, is the increase in presence of software companies within these types of events. No longer is it just the OEMs. You've got all sorts of different kind of manufacturing related software organizations that are now presenting and talking at these types of events because Industry 4.0 and it's becoming such a prevalent part of the process. And we've obviously got our opportunity in June at the Smart Manufacturing Week
Yeah.
at the NEC in Birmingham to have our own booth and present for the first time and a bit of a speaking slot there as well. So now really looking forward to that in person, so the old fashioned in person stuff as well.
Yeah. While the webinars and stuff are great, I feel that the ability to, look someone directly in the eyeball and, shake a hand, I think there's so much value to that. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing that for sure.
So looking ahead this year, then Sam, what are your trends and predictions for how the industry will move forward during the course of 2025?
I think there's some, that definitely the two, I guess the two major things that are coming out from industry now, as opposed to investors, but from industry is predictive maintenance is a big thing, and the digital thread. I think they're both very interlinked, and as well, you can maybe say customer experience as well. I think predictive maintenance, it's been in industry publications for I don't know. I mean, you talk to Murray. He was teaching predictive maintenance back in the '90s, and as the onset of technology increases and improves, then the reality, the holy grail of predictive maintenance, is becoming more and more of a reality. And it's a data challenge. That's all it is. It's a data challenge. It's understanding what the where the change happens, and then when changes happen, it's capturing that information and then understanding the consequences of that change, and then getting in there before those consequences take place. So that is a big demand from industry. And in theory, it all sounds great, and it sounds, like I said, the holy grail. The challenge, though, is it's a data challenge, and lots of organisations just don't have their data structured in such a way that they can capture it in the first instance, and then start to apply the predictive maintenance algorithms, whether you're using AI or machine learning or whatever it is. It doesn't actually matter until you get your data right, and get that in a digestible format. So predictive maintenance was one of the big ones that came out from last year, or I see that's coming our way next year. And then tied into that, I think it's the digital thread. It's tracking the connection between the OEM and the user community, whether that user community is just a dealer or a distributor or even an end user, a customer. That reaching out to the consumers and users of your equipment is super important, and that actually ties into the customer experience as well. We did some work on this with a major OEM a few years ago, and it was around the repeatability of sales. So once somebody buys, particularly in this case, it was an automotive customer. Once somebody buys a customer, it's about then keeping them engaged through the life cycle, so that when they come to buy a new car, they go back to that same automotive brand. And customer experience is a really powerful tool within that process, and using the digital thread within the customer experience is definitely the way to do it, because what that does, it connects you as the OEM to your customer base, so you can track what's going on there. But also, it gives the customer that warm, fuzzy feeling that actually you as the OEM actually care about you as their user, and it gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling that if something was to go wrong, if things weren't to go right, that there's a support network that would enable you to get it repaired, get it replaced, and you're not just left in the lurch when something goes wrong. So intertwining the digital thread and the customer experience is something that I definitely see coming in the next year, the next couple of years. That's definitely one of my predictions, and leveraging that to its full capacity. I think you can really unlock the capability of that. I think that's a huge opportunity, a really huge opportunity. And digitization is the way to do that. That is the way that that's the way you get through that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched upon that kind of the customer experience there, and the engagement between the OEM and the end user. And we've been working with a company in the marine sector towards the back end of last year, and they've implemented telematic systems to their machines, their models, and looking at using the kind of after sales data to support that predictive maintenance. Because if you're a purchaser of an expensive product within the marine sector, and you're expecting the usage out of that to be at, well, high uptime, to use a kind of a software term.
Yeah,
Not only do you want to be able to have service it, find the right parts, but also you want to understand when things are going to go wrong, so you can plan for that as well, don't you? Because it's big and small, these challenges are as important, but particularly when you've got a big investment into something that you own like that.
yeah, 100%. There's a lot of talk around pay as you use, as a service, using physical assets as a service. But you can't do that unless you understand the reliability rates of it. And you can't maintain that unless you can do, predictive maintenance. So if, mobility as a service, I was at a conference last year where people were talking about mobility as a service with the onset of the electrification of motor vehicles. And, effectively, there's a vision that at some point, in the not too distant future, we won't own cars. We will just hire cars for the moments that we use them. So maybe on a commute to work and all those types of things. But what that means, if that's the way that the world is moving towards, in order to support that kind of framework, you need to really understand the reliability of the cars that you've got. Because if somebody books a car for 7 o'clock in the morning um, from Macclesfield to then drive to Manchester, and the car breaks down en route, there will be some KPIs that are associated to that, and organisations aren't going to want to do that. The only way you're going to be able to prevent unforeseen breakdown is through data and predictive maintenance. And you're not going to get to that the place of predictive maintenance without understanding the data in the first instance. So and all that's integrated to the digital thread, to the configuration management, to the service and reliability and the maintainability and the service history. All those things combined in understanding when and at what point that's going to fail. So you can't actually get mobility as service until you've nailed that predictive maintenance piece. And that's why I think it's there's a real impetus to get this resolved and for industry to start looking at this, because there are some big ambitions within the sector, and those ambitions aren't going to be achieved without some key jigsaw pieces being put in place first.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also work with customers within the e-cargo space as well, who will provide fleets of models and vehicles to providers, whether that's shipping providers, logistic providers, and similarly with the kind of car example that you gave there. If this telematics and predictive maintenance isn't built into these models within these fleets, and there are shipping and logistic requirements and last mile delivery expectations and fulfillment rates that these customers of theirs have to achieve, then they're going to struggle if the vehicles break down or they can't service or repair them in time. And so it's just such an important element to a number of different industries for the customers of our customers as well sometimes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. It's exciting. I mean, this is really why we're doing this, isn't it? So the opportunities are significant, and for me personally, I find the what is possible really exciting, and we're right at the cutting edge of that. We're right in amongst it all. With our ability to, from our piece, with our ability to digitize the after sales ecosystem. We're right in amongst all this, and for me, having been that through life support guy, having been the guy who's been sat in the field getting wet or snowed on, which is maybe more relevant, with my technical manual trying to work out how to fix a truck or whatever. The thought of that whole process being easy and relieving those pain points, which is why I started the business. That's really exciting. That is really, really exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and then I guess in reflection, further reflection, we had some great names on the podcast last year. Obviously, unfortunately, we missed yourself. We missed your good self last year.
Yeah,
But
now.
we regained quickly in 2025. And yeah, I think we did 14 episodes in the end of last year, which is great. And we have a really good traction and view rate on them as well, which I'm surprised anybody would want to listen to my voice more than what they would actually have to, which that was probably the biggest surprise of 2024 for me.
Well, the pressure's on me now to see if that goes up or down after this episode.
Yeah. You think people are waiting with bated breath? Oh, this is Rob's turn to shine. So yeah, I've had some really good comments from people actually. From some old friends and colleagues. Some that I can't repeat on this podcast, but there we go. So yeah, thinking back, we had Tony Byrne, the ex-Lotus guy, real innovator and leader within his field, exceptionally experienced. I mean, you talk about people who know their onions. He really does know his onions. And that was a really good conversation. He's a super guy, Tony. And, we wish him well. He's setting up his own stuff, doing some incredible things. So, yeah, good luck to Tony. Hope he yours as well. Jay at Copac, the Copac guys, they're really big advocates of ours. And it's really nice to hear, customers come back and say, just give that positive feedback and say the things they enjoy about your platform. Sometimes the things that they want, they want to improve, where they would like to see the technology going next, and having that real open communication with them around the roadmap and what's coming in the future, and just being there to support them. So I found that was awesome, and the guys at Copac are really good.
As a salesperson as well, that's the real kind of sweet spot of the role. You can solve a challenge, you can sell a solution, you can have the metrics, but when you've got that evangelical championing of your product and genuine excitement about using your product and service, that's when, as a salesperson, you really get that. And I'm sure for yourself as a CEO as well, you get that warm fuzzy feeling inside. It's not just it's a business transaction, but it's gone beyond that. It's actually bringing a lot of value and satisfaction to people's roles and their departments.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's all about relationships, isn't it? And that's,
Mm,
that is, and the ability to work together. I definitely see us as an extension of their team. That's our, that's very much at the heart of, I mean, this. That's at the heart of the things that we do. We like to be an extension of your team. And it brings us into the fold, and your wins become our wins. And we've seen this all over the place when we have these successes that, our customer success is our success, because we can then talk about that and jointly celebrate it, and not take credit for it, but just knowing that we're part of the team is good. And yeah, that's a big, personally, that's a huge driver for me anyway. So yeah, no, that's good. Same with the guys at Triangle Tube as well. Really good bunch of guys. It's great to be working with those guys. Yeah, they're very similar in the same way that they've welcomed us in. We've delivered some amazing bits and pieces into them, and yeah, we hope that they continue on to their great success as well. I think we spoke to Joss as well, Joss Volskull. Again, talking about subject matter experts. I mean, he has been doing this stuff for a long time, and he's one of the few people that really know and understand that those pain points of being that FDU, that end user, but not just from a mechanical perspective. What Joss has got, which is really interesting, is his understanding of ERP systems and the bigger sort of wider ecosystem that businesses have to operate around, and then how to integrate this big behemoth of an ERP, PLM, those complex business solutions, and then applying them into making an after sales solution really useful. Josh has got a huge amount of experience doing that, and we had a really great chat around all the challenges and all the wins as well that he's seen over his time. And yeah, I think we're going to get him on again. I'm looking forward to.
mm.
I'm looking forward to talking to Josh again. So yeah, it's been a really good year last year.
Yeah, no, it certainly has. So moving forward then, where do you think that Partful is going to make the biggest impact in the industry next year?
Where do I think Partful is going to make the biggest impact
Quite a
in the
heavy question, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. How long have we got?
Yeah.
See the marketing guys going, no, ask him that. We'll be on for an hour. So I think in many ways, I think, going back to, we're saying the future predictions, I think, we've got to listen to the market. We've got to listen to where the trends are going. And like I said, it's like we almost planned for this conversation. Like I said before, we're in a really good spot for this. Our ability to digitize, that after sales ecosystem is the game changer. While we create 3D content and it looks super sexy and it's got that wow factor, we're just a data. I say just we are a data company, and we digitize data. We're digitizing that entire ecosystem, and that's the real game changer for us. It's not just okay, because you could go to any or most marketing agencies, in the country and the world, and they'll produce you a 3D model, which would look super beautiful, and it'd be really nice and all that stuff. But we are so beyond that, because it's the connection to the database, it's the digitization of the data that sets us apart. And because we're able to do that, we're able to produce that digital thread. We're able to reach out to the consumers and the users of the equipment, and capture data at the point of change. I say this on when I do my presentations all the time. We're able to capture data at the point of change, and that's the differentiator. And because we're able to do that, we're then able to then support ambitions of predictive maintenance, support ambitions of higher reliability rates, lower downtime or unpredicted repair sessions. We're able to support ambitions of higher growth, higher profit generation through better utilization and understanding of when customers need parts and at what time they need parts. So for us, really, we are, like I said before, we are right in the mix of this, the digitization of the after sales industry. And yeah, I see us playing a really big part in that moving forwards. Certainly with the onset of releasing 2.0, having now released the new platform 2.0, the ability to automatically create this for our customers, that is game changing technology for the whole industry. And yeah, so it's about leveraging that, pushing that forward, and making a difference. Let's see where we can take this.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that the increased visibility and transparency across data is only inevitably going to improve, like you say, customer experience, but also end user customer experience, but relationships with suppliers and dealer networks and distributors as well. Having that ease of data access, that transparency, that visibility of data, ease of ordering, it's gonna change the way a lot of OEMs operate at the moment within their kind of dealer ecosystems, and have a much more clearer, transparent, and efficient relationship, which I think will benefit a lot of our customers from the conversations that I have as well.
Yeah, totally. It's funny, you've got to. While I like the whole blue sky thing, and I love all that future prediction stuff. You've got to remember that where we're taking some of our customers at the moment, and these are some of the biggest OEMs on the planet. Some of our customers at the moment are still using microfiche, and in order to order parts, they have to then manually write down, because they can't cut and paste from microfiche on the screens. They have to manually write down individual part numbers, put that into a spreadsheet, onto an email, and then send it off to somebody. And that is a starting point for some people. We talk about digitization. Some people are so far behind that digitization seems like, just it's not even a dream at this point. It's so far off. So the ability to resolve the data issue and support customers through their journey is going to be, step by step at their pace is the real win there, because you can't just turn somebody on to digitization overnight. It's a slow process.
Mm.
And that was what actually Josh and I talked about earlier last year, was around the ambitions that people have got, and then actually the reality of turning that into reality. There are lots of steps to that.
I saw a LinkedIn post from you the other week around Tesla and them opening up their parts catalogs to users as well. It was an interesting one, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that's the way. That is the way it should be done. I think there's a lot of. I remember when Carl and I used to work. We worked for the same company, and the company that we worked for, they used to charge people for parts catalogs, which was crazy.
Yeah.
Because there was a cost to it. But effectively, that's your sales tool. People that you want to democratize those parts catalogs to every single user on the planet, because if every single user on the planet of your equipment has access to that parts catalog, they can order parts, and that's revenue. That means that you're then generating revenue, or you're maximizing your ability to generate revenue and reducing the supply chain leakage where people go elsewhere and find the parts. Like the story that I tell about my power washer. If that power washing manufacturer had their seal kit online, I'd have bought that seal kit. But they didn't, and I couldn't find it, and I spent hours trying to find it. So I went to eBay and I bought my own, and it came from somewhere else. And that's because they didn't get the parts catalog to me.
If the listeners need context over that story, just listen to anything that Sam has ever recorded, and you'll probably hear the Karcher story.
I think I've
It
told
is a
that
good
story more
story.
than once. But it's true. But that
Yeah.
is funny. I say that story, and so many customers and so many people that we talk to have the same problems. And it isn't just isolated to those guys; it's everybody. It's being able to put the data in the hands of the people when they need it the most. And that it's easy to say, but actually the reality of that is very different. So thank you, Rob, for your insights over the last half an hour. Really insightful, some of the things that you're saying, and around where you think the technology's gone, and your highlights from 2024. It's been a great year, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing that into the new year and seeing where we go. We've already had some wins, so let's hope that trend continues. And and then to the listeners, first of all, thank you for putting up with my voice for this amount of time. Like I said, I didn't think that people were interested in hearing my voice longer than they had to, but there we go. There's surprises around every corner. And I encourage you to listen to more. Looking ahead for 2025, we've got some really exciting guests that we're looking to talk about, looking to engage with. They should be fun and very insightful, and hopefully we'll continue this trend, and we'll see where we get to. And if anybody has any feedback, any points, or they want to see any specific subjects covered within these podcasts, feel free to drop us an email, and we can then take that on board and really help create some content that people are really interested in. That's the whole point of this, is creating content that people are interested in and want to engage with. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Sam.
Cheers, Rob.